Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of eCommerce Mastery. I'm your host, Ben Gothard, and today we have the honor of speaking with the one, the only, Jeff J. Hunter. Now, what's extraordinary about Jeff is that he builds personal brands for accomplished CEOs and founders who are ready to leverage their achievements to become influencers in their category, which is a really interesting place to be, of taking somebody who's a powerhouse business person and exploding their reputation into influencer status. That is a superpower. And Jeff has built a team of over 80 people and a lot of which have come in the last 90 days, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. And yeah, Jeff, I'm so excited. It's so great to be able to chat with you today. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time. I am so excited to get started. So let's dive right in. I would love to hear your story.
Wow. Well, the story starts back to my childhood. I've always loved computers. I've always loved technology. I thought that I was going to be either a hacker or a video game programmer. That's what I wanted to do, right? I still play some Call of Duty as it goes right now, But I went through the whole kind of career path like you're kind of taught and trained in high school and college, except unlike millennials. I guess technically I'm a millennial. I graduated in 2000, which I believe is the definition of a millennial. But they keep changing that definition. But I feel like the newer generation maybe don't have as much work experience as the older generation does. And I had a full-time job pretty much since I can remember being old enough to work. So, I worked at a computer store. I went to school, 6-7 hours a day. And then I went to a computer store afterwards and I worked there until they closed, and I enjoyed it every day. I worked for free. I was basically an unpaid intern, right? Got to learn computers really well. And then one day my boss, who, like I said, I was the intern. So he said, "Hey, you know what? You have learned networking really well, and you should learn how to do VPN tunnels and things like that. And I could send you out to these different sites and you could just install routers and set up tunnels." And I'm like, "I could do that. Sure. No problem." No, that's easy. And then it turned out that most of the clients were doctors and they had their own private practices and they needed to access very valuable information that's sensitive. So we set up these secure tunnels to look at patient data while they're at home, which, by the way, with HIPAA compliance and everything, that's changed a bit. But I'm old enough to remember HIPAA compliance. But anyway, and then in college, I went to school to become a computer science person. Realized very quickly that I didn't like being behind a desk all day programming things, that I was more of a field person. I wasn't much of a people person. I was always kind of an introvert. And if you haven't noticed, I've kind of trained myself out of that. But I got my first job as the IT coordinator, or IT guy at a school, and I gradually a year or so later became the IT coordinator for an entire school district. Did that for 4 years, and then I got recruited by Philips Electronics to be an IT project manager, which I learned a lot from there. So I've always kind of had this IT background. I've always been infatuated with virtual teams and building things virtually. And lo and behold, I never would have believed that I would leave my job in 2016, which wasn't that long ago. I probably, like most people today, I had a side hustle, right? So since 2013, I had a little side hustle of growing and building my own virtual teams to do marketing. And I had no idea how to do marketing. It was fun. It was just people wanted websites. I didn't even know websites for marketing. I was like, hey, everybody wants a website, So I would build websites for people on the side. And next thing you know, was the last thing you know. I had, a dozen people working for me. And after things didn't go really well at my work, I decided to leave. So I left. I started my own company called VA Staffer, which is a virtual assistant company that focuses on marketing. And I left. I took my wife and my 3-year-old son to the Philippines for a month back in the summer of 2016, which was hot as hell. And I built what I have today. So I have 2 brands. I have vastaffer.com, which is my virtual assistant business, and I have Branded Media, which is, even though it's the same team, there's 2 different focuses. VA Staffer does all the support, like we have a bunch of executive assistants, we have a lot of supporting businesses grow, and then we have the marketing side of the business, which is Branded Media, which is exactly how you introduced me, which is helping people leverage virtual teams to actually grow their business and their personal brand. So there's me in a nutshell.
So let's dive into a little bit of the cool projects that you've worked on. Like, where have you really cut your teeth in the Branded Media side and the VA staffer side? Like, how did you really get up to the point? Because there's a difference between starting a company in a space and reaching a really high echelon in that space.
What's really interesting is that it really does feel like I woke up one day and I had an 80+ person team, and I've never ran a single advertisement. I've never done paid ads. I've never promoted myself outside of a podcast or a stage. It's very interesting how that works. I do a lot of podcasting, and I have to say, I think podcasting, I started my own podcast called Savage Marketer, which I have this giant sign I have to hang up. I thought it was going to be a metal tin sign. If you guys are just listening to the podcast, I have a giant 4-foot sign that's custom cut of wood behind me. And it's just too heavy to mount on my wall without some sort of a bracket or something. So it's on the floor until I do that. But I started my own podcast to do kind of top of the funnel marketing just since January this year. And as you know, I'm sure it's been exploding for my business because I've got to connect with so many amazing people that when I share my story with them, they say, hey, you got to talk to Jeff. This guy can help you with certain things. And I get tagged in Facebook posts and tagged in articles and all sorts of different things. And I've worked really hard to develop my own personal brand. I'm a contributor for Forbes. I'm a contributor for Entrepreneur, Thrive and Business to Community and the Good Men Project and, like all these different places. And I've really been intentional in establishing myself as an expert in the virtual remote teams and leveraging that to do branding. I don't want to call myself a branding expert because I think that that's a very, I would just say it's almost like calling yourself an internet marketer, right? It's kind of low perception on what people think of. And I don't want to be grouped in with that. So luckily for me, I fall back on my virtual team specialist, right? Back to what you said, when it comes to the big projects and how I've reached this different echelon that I'm at right now, it's interesting because it usually starts with a small transactional project where I come in to help them with one small problem and I do an exceptional job on it. And they say, well, what else can you do? And I'll give you a great example. Convoso.com is a beautiful, amazing client of mine. Their CEO, founder, his name's Nima. Very in your face, kind of like what they do is they have a call center software. So it's a call center software that actually adapts call centers to the new age. It allows them to have remote teams, which of course fits really well with what I do. Ironically, I have a client, her name's Kathy Karabetsos, and she owns a call center called QCSS. So I'm trying to make that connection work. But with Convoso, they just wanted one person, and it was a part-time. Can we please get one part-time assistant, executive assistant is what we call it, to help one of it was a their marketing director do some of these quote unquote low level tasks that are eating up his time. And I said, sure, no problem. We'll start you out with a part-timer. And then I make a big deal about how important it is to start documenting processes because I told them, I bet you within 30 to 60 days, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, how did I live before I had my own executive assistant? and you're going to want them to do more. You're going to want to go full time. And eventually what happens is that that person becomes really good, and they're like, well, we need a second person to do all the things that she's doing because we have more things for that person to do. So Convoso is a perfect example. They started with a person part-time, and over the course of maybe 6 months, they've grown to 3 to 4 full-time positions, right, in the company. So I have been growing with my clients, right? And it doesn't take a lot of clients that add on 2, 3 assistants to reach 80. It doesn't. That's why I told you. I mean, I just, we've right before this interview, I told you that my team is up to 80 something people, and almost 50 of them were hired in the past 90 days. That's my growth path, man. It's just to really align myself with amazing clients that are in growth phase. I really want to work with people that are on the growth phase. I don't want to work with people that are trying to figure out what kind of business they're going to start and this and that. I want people that have plenty of business, they're successful, they're profitable, they know they're spending way too much time, their team members are spending too much time doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and I come in and I say, look, let's help you keep your best team members focused and prioritized on the things that are the best use of their time, their zone of genius, and let's build a virtual team to do all the other things that they either don't want to do or aren't as valuable to do, or they don't know how to do. They also hired us to help write an email campaign for them. They don't have email campaign writers. They don't have sales copywriters on the team. And that's obviously a more expensive thing. They use the American copywriters that we have on our team. Majority of our team's in the Philippines, by the way, but we have American copywriters and stuff. So we did a campaign for them, and we booked, I think within the first like 14 days of the campaign, they were able to, from that email campaign, one email campaign, get 8 people booked to do a demo of their software. Now their software is not cheap. So let's just, even if I threw out a number like $5,000, which it was less than that, by the way, to do an email campaign for them. One of their sales, just one of those 8 people book a call from that email campaign, it's going to triple, quadruple the cost of the email campaign, right? So it's all about positioning yourself. This is the lesson for those of you listening. You have to position yourself instead of being a cost or an expense to your clients. You have to position yourself as a valuable asset that at the end of the month, when they look at the list of expenses, they say, well, we can't cut this guy because he's making us money.
That is such a good point of letting your business and yourself, your product, become an investment that generates returns for your customers. So let's tie this idea of being really valuable and leveraging virtual teams into e-commerce, because that's the focus here.
Oh,
Right? So
I have a perfect example for you. One of my clients is Beekeepers Natural. It is a superfood company that does everything with organic honey. They do lipstick, like lip gloss. They do CBD honey. They do anything and everything honey. And we actually are working with their affiliate manager to help manage relationships, to help scrape leads, to help identify potential affiliates and JV opportunities, brand ambassadors, all that kind of stuff, right? So just doing that, helping just keep the communication lines open, following up, sending out sample products. You know, there's just so many different things that an e-com business does that, you know, most e-com business owners have given themselves a job. They're their own secretary, right? And there's just so many things that slip through the cracks. You guys are worried about doing ROAS, you know, you're worried about getting the return on your ads. You're not focused on, you know, looking at here's branding opportunities. You guys are, you know, doing other things in your business. You're trying to, even if you just had a VA who goes on Amazon or whatever and sources products and finds out how much they cost, goes to Alibaba and finds the provider, right? Like there's so many different things as an e-com business owner that you can easily delegate out to your team members and just be done with it, right? So, I mean, there's just, it's crazy because I have to be straight with you. Like, I'm never going to say that COVID-19 was a good thing because obviously it sucks. 150,000 or so people have died from it. So I'm not saying it's a good thing. But what I will tell you is it has advanced the need for virtual teams and remote teams by like 10 times, right? Like I have over doubled my team in the past 100 days thanks to COVID-19. So that's where I'm going to leave it. You know, businesses have been putting this off for a long time, you know, and now it's time.
So let's give some practical, almost like a blueprint here for e-commerce entrepreneurs who are looking to build their team out, or maybe they don't even want to build their team out, but maybe they're looking to take the monotonous, easily delegable, if that's a word, the delegatable, the tasks that you need to delegate. Let's talk about how to identify those tasks and how to order them chronologically to figure out, okay, these are what I need to take off of my plate. This is the order in which I need to take them off the plate, and this is how I'm going to do it.
So I wish that my book was out right now because I could plug it. But my book coming out is called the 90-10 Rule. And the goal of building a virtual team or in person, really, I mean, this is building any team, is about what I call ADD, which entrepreneurs are good at, right? Most entrepreneurs have a little ADD, but I'm going to recode that ADD to be useful, right? ADD for most people is like running around doing random things, not being focused, whatever else not, which by the way, is like called being an entrepreneur. It's a trait. Most entrepreneurs probably have ADD, all right? So I want to reposition that and say, okay, well, if you're scrambled brain, you're doing all these things, how can we focus on fixing the problem of being scrambled and unfocused? And this is where the 90-10 rule comes into play. The 90-10 rule is about automating, that's A, delegating, that's D, deleting, that's the second D, right? The 90% of your business operations and your life operations, so you can focus on the 10% that actually matters, right? So this is the cliche that I use all the time, but so many people are busy kicking the rocks when they should be pushing the boulder, right? And majority of the time, if I said, hey, Ben, let's make a list of the 10 most important things that you could do for your business this month. And we wrote down 10 things. One of those things on that list is probably going to impact your business more than all the other 9 put together. But guess what? We're creatures of habit, and we as humans like to tackle the little things. It makes us feel good and productive when we do the little things instead of doing the hard things. Like, I don't know if you're a big fan of like, you know, speakers, but you know, somebody once referred me to a book that it's called Eat That Frog, and it's a really interesting book by Brian Tracy, and it talks about how important it is to wake up and tackle the biggest problem first. But most people wake up and you know what they do? They fiddle with their emails. They go and they put their to-do list together. They're messing around and they're not doing things that are really progressing their business. So the step number 1 is identifying what are the things in my business that I shouldn't be doing, and then putting a plan together on either automating it if it's automatable, right? Or if it's not automatable, it requires some brain power, then you have to delegate it, or sometimes you have to make a very hard decision to just delete it.
So I love that approach of automating, delegating, and deleting. How do you go about actually figuring out what those 10 things, 20 things, 100 things are that need to be automated, delegated, or deleted?
I start with the quick wins first. It's really important. By the way, it's important for us to feel like we're winning. Okay. If we feel like we're losing, there's a psychological breakdown where we say, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's not working. I'm losing. Okay. So it's really important for us as human beings to have quick wins. So the quickest win that you can do is what I call repeatable tasks, right? Repeatable things are the easiest to get off your plate because there's something that you do every day. You can turn on a Zoom call like this. You press the record button. You can share your screen. You could do whatever. Let's put it in eCom terms. Let's say you're sourcing a product and you're looking for things and you're talking about, I'm updating prices on my sheet, right? I have to update the prices. The prices went up on gloves and other PPE equipment and whatever it's called, like, I don't know, I'm not into that stuff, but I have a lot of eCom clients and friends, so I get it. I spoke at some of the biggest eCom conferences ever. And it's funny because it's because I'm good at building virtual teams, right? So in eCom, pretty much everything's virtual. So unless you are as big as Amazon or something and you've got your own fulfillment station, but most don't. But what's really interesting is that, a lot of the repetitive things people, they get stuck up on. They're like, oh man, it's going to be hard for me to train someone to do it. No, you're already doing it. Record yourself doing it, explain what you're doing. And even better yet, if you hire a really good person, okay? And by the way, let me share with you a little secret. I don't hire people looking for a job. I don't hire people that are looking for a job. I hire people that already have a job similar to what I want them to do, that I could cross-train and bring in as a vertical to what I want them to do. For example, I do have a lot of eCom clients that have Shopify stores. Well, I happen to recruit one of the top people at Shopify to my team. And if you know anything about A players like to be around other A players. So when I recruited this person, she was able to recruit 7 people from the Shopify support team themselves. So I'm actually hiring Shopify employees and converting them into my eCom experts on my team. So they're able to do order fulfillment. They know how to do, they know how to go on Amazon and drop ship things to people. I mean, they already know how to do tons of things. And the things that they didn't know how to do, it was easy to train them because they already had Shopify experience. So it wasn't like taking them off some beaten path. It's not like taking a call service representative, someone who just answers phone calls every day, and teaching them how to do Shopify. I took someone who knows Shopify and I taught them how to do customer support, which is a lot easier.
That's awesome. So we're looking for tasks that we're doing every single day that we can simply do a screen share and teach, or write down some sort of instruction manual and teach. And if we can teach it, we can automate it, or delegate it rather. And
right.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right. That's step 1, is the repetitive tasks. The step 2 is, what are the challenging things that you're spending a lot of time on that you shouldn't be? For example, building out a ClickFunnel for your product. You got an upsell funnel or whatever. You're using what's the one on Shopify?
Zipify?
Zipify. Thank you. Zipify, which is basically a funnel builder for Shopify, right? That plugin. Like, there's people already out there that can do that, and probably a lot better than you, definitely better than me. I'm not good at it. And this is why I don't like the term outsourcing. People are like, Jeff, because I got this nickname, the king of outsourcing, which I actually, I'm not a fan of, but it works, so I keep it. But I like to use the term upsourcing and downsourcing. Okay. So downsourcing is for the repetitive things, the stuff that, is really like, doing your email, stuff like that. Like, these are all, even your customer tickets, support tickets, shipping, refunds, all this kind of stuff for eCom. These are downsourcing. Why would an executive level person at the top of a business be answering tech support tickets? It makes absolutely no sense. Okay. But it happens every day. Every eCom business owner I know is still doing emails. All right. So, let's take a real good look at ourselves and say, okay, what are the challenging things like Zipify funnels and, maybe it's email or sales copy, like I gave the example of Convoso earlier. Whatever these different things are, you're probably going to pay more than just hiring some low-level VA somewhere, but you're finally going to get it done, and you're going to get it done right with probably better results than you're going to get yourself, right? So explore the challenging things that you need to get off your plate that if you spent 10, 15 hours on it, it would take you 2-3 months to do. You can hire an expert. It's going to cost a little bit extra. They'll have it done next week, right? So think about those types of things. The third piece is the neglected. What are the things that you're neglecting in your business because you're busy doing the repetitive and the challenging things? Okay. So neglected is social media. A lot of people don't do social media presence. They're not getting their voice out there. They're not going on podcasts. They're not starting their podcast. They should have a show. I told one of my clients just over the weekend, she said, yes, I'm looking at spending 6 figures to advertise my business over the next year. What should I be doing? Please pitch me. All these marketing people were pitching her. And I was like, dude, she owns a tax preparation business. You know how easy this would be? Like, one, every single tax preparation business does not have a show and they're boring. She's not boring. She's fun. Her name's Rachel. By the way, I'm her client too, right? So I know her business. She's my client and I'm her client. It's those type of thing, like we're mutual clients. And I said, what you need to do is invest in some SEO, understand some, obviously eCom know all about SEO, having the right product titles and service titles and all that kind of stuff so that you show up when people are searching terms that, are related to your products and services. Is 101, marketing 101, inbound marketing, right? And then I told her, you just need to start a show. She already has an awesome office with a glass window view and this. It'd be easy to set up some lights, get one of those cool desks like this right behind, put a cool sign up there, get some cool, colored lights like I got, put a cool wood panel on the back. Look, she's done. Put a whiteboard up. You can teach a lesson on it. Oh my God, it's kind of like what I did, right? And then you create the show, you have interesting guests, you bring your people on the show and you talk about how you're helping them save money on taxes and this and that. And people are going to be like, dude, I want to do that. And they want to work with you. And then you use a video production team like mine to cut up all the clips and make those little Gary Vaynerchuk style value bombs with a progress bar going over some catchy little title and some stupid little click or something in the beginning to make people remember your brand. And then you pay all the networks to promote it based on the demographic. Business owner from 25 to 39 or 35 to 45 or whatever the heck your demographic is you're doing, and you go with it. And she's like, oh my God, right? She put a little heart on my comment. And like I got like 3 comments saying yes, this, right? People commenting on my comment. I think my comment got more likes than her post. So this is the type of thing that I wouldn't have time to do if I was my own secretary. By the way, that was the point of my story. So I had time to see that Facebook post. And a lot of my time is spent on opportunities like this, coming on your show, being able to answer questions on LinkedIn or Facebook, coming in and doing my own show. I have my own Savage Marketer podcast. By the way, for those of you watching the video, I'm not a narcissist. This is actually from one of my people, Mike Schmidt. I'll give him a shout out. He's a funnel builder. And we met at a mastermind that we were both speaking at. And we became friends. And he said, what's your address? And next thing you know, they showed up on my door. Talk about a great way to build a relationship, right? So what else does a bald man need than a picture of his own bald self on a shirt with the word savage underneath it, right? So the point is that you really need to figure out what you want to automate, delegate, and delete. And you want to look at the mindless, repetitive things. You want to look at the things that you want to upsource, right? The challenging things. And then you want to look at the neglected things that you're not able to do because you're busy doing the other things, like being able to have conversations on social media, you know, the ability to have podcast time like this, to book it, to do your own show. There's just so many different things that by the way, this is, I don't always agree with Gary Vaynerchuk, but he and we've gotten to know each other. We spoke at an event in November. Matter of fact, our talk became the title. Our 3.5-minute talk became the title of his entire 1.5-hour long show from last year, which was about repurposing content, right? There's another great idea. You can use your team to create content based on your eCom products and make videos and explainers and cool graphics and images. Like, you can hire a graphic designer, right? Like, I have 5 graphic designers on my team. Like, I just can't imagine not having a team. And because you can get such a great team at such a great price in the Philippines, like I said, 80% of my team, probably more like 75% or 80% of my team are in the Philippines. I'm able to provide life-changing opportunities for these guys. Most of the people in the team in the Philippines, they make the most money of anyone in their family generationally. I already shared my recruitment strategy. I find someone who does something similar to what I want them to do already, and then I offer them 3 times as much to work for me, and they get to work from home in their underwear. It's a win-win. I'm in my underwear right now. That's how I roll.
As you should be on any
Exactly.
podcast.
And I knew that we were going to work out, by the way, because I have the same exact chair as you.
That's awesome. It's a pretty rad chair. Extremely comfortable.
I have gone through so many chairs, and look at this. It's the same exact chair.
For those of you on video, we have the exact same chair, and it's pretty miraculous.
Exact same chair, same color and everything.
Now we don't ship it back to each other, on some days. It's not the exact same chair.
It was coordinated for sure.
Yeah. So, man, I love what you're talking about here, and I really, really love this distinguishing the different types of tasks between our downsourcing tasks of things that we just can't afford to be doing, like our repetitive, monotonous, easily delegatable tasks. I'm going with delegatable instead of delegable because I think it makes more sense, even if neither of them are words.
Delegatable.
Perfect. And then our upsourcing tasks, that makes a lot of sense because we want to hand off the things that we're not as good at to the people who are way better than us at that thing. I mean, that's taken a page out of the great Andrew Carnegie's playbook. He built a steel empire by surrounding himself with people who were way smarter than him at the different things that they were doing. He wasn't in his refineries or his works messing with the different machines, and he wasn't the one that was in there figuring out the Bessemer process. No, he hired chemists to come in and to learn more about it than he knew. He built relationships with people and brought them over into his business that they could go to work and be the experts that they are. It's just good business that way. And once you have the things that you're already aware of, then the neglected things, and maybe you're aware of them, but you're not doing them, but tackling those things that you know you should be doing, but you're not. Like, for example, sending follow-ups. How many times are you following up with your customers or your biggest suppliers or the people who are really moving the needle in your business? Like, how many times do you go out and improve that relationship just because you have the time, or go make a huge sale, or go recruit another huge executive in your business, or anything that you're not doing that you should be doing, or give yourself time to think of things that you're not even thinking about doing that you definitely should be doing. That's so powerful.
That's spot on.
So when you're looking at your business tasks and You've delegated the things that need to be delegated. You've automated the things that need to be automated. You've identified which ones are the downsource, which ones are the upsource. Those are taken care of. You're exploring opportunities now. Where do you go from there? What's that next step?
The next step is definitely getting the right person to do it, right? The worst thing that you could possibly do is hire someone and then figure it out later. So you want to have a good, clear definition of what someone's going to do before you hire them. This is not lazy work. I think a lot of people, they think that they can hire someone and then just like that person's going to figure out what their job is. It's not going to work that way. It's got to be very clearly defined. And by the way, you're setting the tone. So if you hire someone and they say, wow, you don't got it figured out, that doesn't give them any confidence in what their mission and vision is for the company and what your mission and vision is for the company. And if they feel that you don't have your stuff together, it's a recipe for disaster.
So does this mean that, like, how well documented does it need to be? I know we talked about it a little bit, but like what level of detail are we going into?
It doesn't need to be that documented, right? Because I will tell you this right now, the fastest way to find out how bad you are at documentation is have someone else who doesn't know what they're doing look at your stuff, all right? Your documentation should be something that your mom could figure out, right? Your grandma, if your grandma can figure it out, you're good to go, all right? So I want you to just think about, like, what is it, how can I break this down to where my 8-year-old son could do this? And by the way, that's part of the reason why I say the quick wins are so important. When you give someone a repetitive task, they start to understand your business and what you're doing. And it's really important to teach why someone's doing something, how it impacts the business. One of the things that I believe is very important and that I've seen over and over, and it's why I have a really high retention rate on my own team members, is that all of them know what their role, their individual role, contributes to the overall success of the company and the vision. And if your team members don't buy into your vision for the company, it's a recipe for them to leave and go somewhere else because they don't have the like, kind of like, I would say, conviction. Maybe the better word is that they don't feel emotionally attached to your drive and your purpose. And the second piece is you have to make sure that what they want to do in life, okay, you're able to help them achieve that with the role that you create. A great book that I just read describes something called basically job crafting. And job crafting is based on each and every single person's story. What is their life story? I feel like leaders aren't taking enough time to understand the story of their team and crafting what their job description is and what their job career path is based on the goals that they want to achieve in life. If you can help position your actual role for them to help them achieve what they're trying to get to in life, then they'll stay with you forever. Which, by the way, is very interesting because I will get a lot of times people say, Jeff, you hire people from the Philippines to, exploit third world countries and get cheap labor costs. And you know what? I get it. They don't get it. They don't understand. They don't get it. I've been to the Philippines 15 times. I see it this way. First off, the people that I hire in the Philippines, the number one reason why I hire them is because they're loyal. Here in America, not saying that there's not Americans that are loyal, but the average tenure in America at a technology company, get ready for this, 1.8 years. That's the tenure. Imagine hiring someone, training them, developing them, spending and investing so much time in them, and then 1.8 years later, they're gone to the next opportunity, right? So this is why it's so important and valuable that you craft the future together with your team that they feel buy-in, and that you're able to show and position yourself as a part of their journey and not just a stepping stone to get where they want to be.
That makes so much sense. And it really just hammers down the point of we need to take a long-term approach to this. I mean, we're looking to really build a team to really make our lives easier and better, and our businesses better, work more smoothly. We're looking to also not just our things, but if we can tie in making the people that we work with, their lives better, both our customers and our employees and the contractors, so on and so forth, then everybody wins. Then everybody wants you to succeed and wants your business to keep going. Everybody's bought into it. So that makes it way better because everybody's on the same page. We're all moving towards that same goal. And I love what you're talking about of aligning what, when you're delegating to somebody, aligning what they're going to be doing with what they want to achieve in life so that they're motivated and that they're bought in and they have a reason to do a great job besides the fact that inherently people just want to do a good job. So that makes so much sense to me. And I really think that that hammers home the point. And, Jeff, I do want to thank you very much for coming on the show today. I know we've covered a lot of ground, and I'm just tremendously grateful for this opportunity to share and to chat with you. It's really been a pleasure. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
It's been my pleasure. And if you guys have any questions about, leveraging a virtual team or using your, so I'll leave with a little tip. One of the ways that I'm able to get on so many podcasts as part of my own brand building, because by the way, I think that this is a great way to end. If you own an e-com business and you're not positioning yourself to sell, okay, you have a problem. Because one of the best things you could ever do is set your business up so it's actually sellable, okay? And if you don't have processes in place, if you don't have clear defined roles for your team, if you're doing all the work yourself, then what that means is when you sell to somebody, they're basically buying a job. And people don't want to buy a job. Investors don't want to buy a job. So you've got to get your business into a place to where it will run itself, or it will run you, okay? And by the way, this is exactly what's mind-blowing, back to the podcast thing, is that what happens when you sell? Are you starting life over again, right? This is why it's so important to develop your own personal brand, because I've already built an amazing brand for myself. I'm not going to sell VA Staffer, but if I ever did, I've already established myself as the king of outsourcing. I've already shown that I can build amazing brands. I'm already faculty at digitalmarketer.com. I speak at, events all around the world. I've been able, just last Christmas, I spoke for an entrepreneurial immersion education program sponsored by LinkedIn, HubSpot, Microsoft. I've been able to achieve these things because I focused on my brand. So if I sold VA Staffer, I'm not starting at zero. And I want you guys to think of this idea from Elon Musk. Elon Musk could close Tesla today. He could close the Boring Company. He could close SpaceX. And he says, you know what, guys? I'm not passionate about that stuff anymore. The only thing I want to focus on the rest of my life is creating my newfound passion for motorcycling. And I want to create the world's most amazing electric motorcycle. He will post one Twitter tweet, right? He'll make one tweet with a link to send their $100 deposit on a brand new $20,000 Tesla or whatever he wants to call it, Zoomer electric motorcycle, and it would be the #1 most sold electric motorcycle in the world. Elon, if you're listening to this, I want royalties if you do this, okay? That's because of the power of the brand, right? That's because of the power of the brand, and not enough people are focused on that. So I use my virtual assistant to get me booked on podcasts like this, to grow my own brand, to share my story so people can see that I'm legitimate, that I'm an authority, and that I have credibility. And if you don't have those three things, you're done.
What a way to end. Jeff, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you listening, I want to thank you, and I will see everybody on the next episode. Take care now.